Hi, Swee Peng here, hosting for the Malaysian Nature Society, or MNS for short. MNS is Malaysia's oldest environment conservation and education NGO. The photo group has launched a series of online content to raise awareness on the importance of nature conservation. And today we have MNS NATUREGRAPHER, our very own YouTube channel. We have with us today Mr. Steven Wong, coordinator of MNS Selangor branch Herp group. Steven is an avid nature photographer. Steven, welcome to MNS NATUREGRAPHER.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, before we get to know you better, please allow me to ask, what is Herpetofauna?
Herpetofauna is a group of animals that includes reptiles and amphibians. So what we do in MNS Herp group, Herp shortens from Herpetofauna, is that we organize night walks for our members where we bring them to the forest to show them reptiles and amphibians, frogs, toads, lizards, snakes, turtles, maybe crocodiles.
You are known as the frogman in this very unusual field. Why are frogs important to our ecosystem?
Frogs, like many other animals, have a very important role in our ecosystem. In ecology, there's a concept of primary producers and consumers. So primary producers would be plants. They photosynthesize the sun and turn it into food. For primary consumers, which are crickets and insects, whereas frogs, they are secondary consumers. They feed on primary consumers. But frogs don't only just control insects. You can imagine if frogs don't exist, insects will run rampant and they'll eat all of our crops. They're important in controlling insects, but they're also important as food for various tertiary consumers like snakes, birds, and small mammals. On top of that, they serve as important bioindicators as well, because frogs have sensitive skin. They have permeable skin that allows them to have oxygen exchange underwater. They are particularly delicate and they can be affected by water pollution. So lots of ecologists and environmentalists, when they go out to survey frogs, just from the species composition, they can tell the health of a particular habitat. If that particular habitat is affected by disturbance, you can expect more disturbance-tolerant animals like toads, as compared to sensitive frogs like the giant river frog that we could see tonight. So yes, frogs are very important in our ecosystem indeed.
Whoa, that's important information. Ladies and gentlemen, that is really, really nice to know. Does Malaysia have a wide variety of frogs?
We do. Malaysia is one of the most biodiverse countries in the world, and we have around 275 species of frogs. But this number does fluctuate depending on the latest science. Scientists working in the field are constantly discovering new species, and sometimes multiple species are lumped. So this is a number that fluctuates. But yes, 275 species of frogs, including Borneo, is a great amount of frogs.
Yeah. Now, given the importance of frogs to our ecosystem, would you say the frogs population is increasing or decreasing? And what would be the threats to their existence?
Although scientists are constantly discovering new species, as a whole, I feel like frogs are on a decline. And they are threatened by many different sources of threats, including habitat destruction for various things, including oil palm, timber, and mixed development. They are also threatened by water pollution. Rivers that pass through housing estates is polluted by silage. If they pass through industrial complexes, they might be polluted by various discharge from factories. And as said earlier, frogs have very sensitive, very delicate skins, and they can be very easily affected by pollution. They are also affected by the illegal pet trade. There's a lot of poaching going on here. Unfortunately, lots of people will go into the forest to catch frogs and to sell them as exotic pets.
Wow. Now, until meeting Steven today, I never knew frogs can be kept as exotic pets. Myself, I really do not fancy frogs. They are really yucky to me. So could you help dispel some of these misconceptions about frogs, Steven?
Yeah. I have a lot of friends that are very afraid of frogs too, even though I sing their praises all the time. There seems to be a very common misconception that frogs are extremely poisonous. Lots of people think that, as soon as they touch you, you're gonna get poisoned and you have to be hospitalized. But that's simply not true. All of our frogs are safe to touch. The poison molecule from frogs are not small enough where you'll just go through your skin. It's very possible to just wash your hands and rinse the poisons off you. Plus, many of them are not even that poisonous to start with. There's also a misconception that pee from frogs can turn people blind. Yes, there's a there's a species of frog called the four-line tree frog. It's also called tatak pisang because yes, sometimes they can be found on banana trees. They're relatively common in the urban areas. You can find it in your house if you have a big garden. And they are quite flighty. When they see you coming, they might jump away, and they often would pee when they jump. That is both to serve as a deterrent to predators and also to lighten their bodies so that they can jump away faster. And yes, some people think that if the pee were to land on your eyes, you'll turn blind, but that's simply not true. Yeah, so yeah, those are the two most common misconceptions about frogs. One that is that they are very poisonous, and two is that they can make you blind sometimes. And I think, yeah, there's also just a general feeling that they are moist and icky, but to me they're really colorful and very beautiful animals.
Well, isn't that nice to know? Now, my next question is, given that frogs are so important to our planet, when and how did you develop this passion for frogs?
I've always thought that frogs are just frankly beautiful and an amazing group of animals. But if I were to think back, I think it started with art class. When I was in high school, I took visual arts as an elective. It's an easy A, by the way. So I hung around the art room very often in school. And there was a poster right outside the art room. It's an illustration of frogs. What the artist did is that he just filled the entire poster from frame to frame, filled with frogs. And these illustrations are accurate depictions of frogs. But they're really colorful, and they come in all sorts of shapes and sizes and different body parts for various adaptations to things. Some glide, some climb trees really well, some can stay underwater for a really long time. And me just standing there looking at the poster, I think, wow, these are real frogs. These are not cartoons. They really exist, you know. If I go to the Amazons, I might be able to see them in the wild. And yes, we have many, many beautiful frogs here as well. So yeah, it started out with that poster, and yeah, my passion for frogs grew from there.
Wow. So how and where do you hunt for frogs, and what is your must-have equipment?
Frogs naturally would hang out close to water sources like ponds, lakes and rivers. So if you were to go to a national park or a state park that has access to water sources, that's a very, very safe bet. A must-have, I would say, would be a headlamp. Tonight I'll be doing a bit of practical with the photo group team, and I'll show you my lighting equipment. But yes, a headlamp is absolutely essential. One of the best ways to spot for frogs is to look for their eye shine, and a headlamp really facilitates that, especially a bright one. And that's really it. If you want to just observe frogs as a hobby, all you need is a headlamp. But if you want to photograph them, then yes, that's a bit more involved.